time when the dawn was full of cries, silence was sold, and humans were bought. They were chains as law, and cruelty passed itself as somebody's destiny. Can you think? I am talking about slavery, a repressive time. It did not just steal freedom, it left scars for yet unborn. Frederick Douglass, a former slave and a relentless critic of slavery. Abraham Lincoln, who politically opposed the institution of slavery. And Sojourner Truth, who confronted the twin evils of slavery and misogyny. All of them had the option of either dealing and accepting what they are with or to trust their survival instinct and move on with a solution. This survival instinct I'm talking about is none other than creativity, a spectacle of your universe, a limelight in our souls. Creativity is a new survival instinct. So, before we move on, I have an activity for you. I want you to pause for a moment and imagine. Imagine yourself years back into that same time. And what would you do? Ask yourself this question. Would you become the endurer or the disruptor? Would you have the courage to challenge the normal? It is easy to talk about it now, but would you then? The cost of thinking differently hasn't changed much since. Thanks to your creativity, now it does not require revolutions. Though sometimes it still feels scary to raise a hand and say, I have an idea. Back then, it had literal chains to break, but not anymore. Greetings everyone, I am Nishka Gupta, and I invite you to think with me. What we do on a daily basis may not be so monumental, but the fear is surprisingly similar. And this is what is the first instinct of your creativity, your fear. I remember a story of mine. I was 6 at that time and I had a fancy dress competition. Every girl my age was becoming a princess, a queen. But my mom was preparing me to dress as a clown. Yes, and I hated her so much for doing that to me. On the day of the event, I went and I sat in the corner of the hall, wishing if I could just disappear instead of people letting me see like this. I was scared. I wanted to perform also. The situation was more than a tad bit awkward. Yes, so I went up because lately my feelings were totally confused. My feelings did not say don't create. My feelings said hide. So I hesitantly went up. My hands were still shaking. My mind still screaming at me to stop and go back at the corner of the hall. And the silence, oh God, unbreakable. The kind of silence fear convinces you means judgment. But then something totally unexpected happened. People laughed, they smiled, and the thing I was most afraid of, it became the reason people paid attention. They all did smile, but that was not in mockery. That was in delight. After some time, when the results was announced, definitely something which I didn't imagine happened. I won. And as a 6-year-old clown among princesses and queens, I learned something powerful. Fear tried to stop me, but the moment I moved past it, it became my biggest strength. So, you see, you would relate to it that fear works on both sides, to help you as well as to stop you. Since I chose the side that works for me. Moving on to 3 types of fear and in what way we should deal with each. Fight, flight, and freeze. And we often come across these crossroads in various parts of our life. So let's discuss one by one what each means. First is fight. Fight is when you know what you're doing, when you create, when you go into situations which are unfamiliar, when you share your ideas. You often come across this situation, and I also. We often say in our mind, no, 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 I am not going to share this. People are going to judge me for this. This is too scary. But when an idea scares you, it usually means it's different. Because safe ideas don't create judgment. Fear is the only direction in your creativity compass that shows you are doing something new. And fight is the only way you get in the right direction of creativity. Because when you choose fight, you are seeing and you are giving your ideas a platform in which they can exist. Facing creative adversity is when you see your choices materialize. Moving on to a very common part. It's, one thing you can all imagine yourselves. This is comfort. This is the freeze situation. Now, what happens in freeze situation is that you are overthinking, you are laying still, all in a cocoon of comfort. But this isn't a complete bad state, and I will explain you why. You see, your fear sharpens your ideas. It forces the good ones to grow stronger, and it filters the bad ones. Thanks to your fear, now you ask better questions. Is this idea thoughtful? Is it useful? Can I explain it better? It helps you refine, prepare, and take responsibility for what you're able to speak. And when you finally speak, you are not reckless. You are intentional. So, it has simply filtered out every bad thing possible and given you new wings. It's given you new voice. But then, now we talked about how courage is basically thinking differently despite knowing what's next. And let's be honest, that's the road less taken. Where we usually find ourselves into is again a cocoon of comfort. We talk about change, we dream about ideas, but do we ever act? It's like a boat amidst the sea, which can sail but doesn't want to. But trust me, a little fuel in that boat and it will thrive. Now, moving on to the third part. That is your flight. What is flight? Flight is sticking to conformity. You have heard this multiple times. Lazy people invent smart solutions, which is true till some extent because they also fail to deliver it. And when I say this, I mean they avoid situations which are a little uncomfortable, which are a little uneasy. They don't really want to put that effort. So I encourage you to be the one who is inconvenient to work with. Be the one who defies the rules. Be the one who asks right questions. Be you. As Neil Donald rightly states, life begins at the end of your comfort zone. And thinking differently needs discomfort. It needs you to not stick to conformity. At the end, the choice remains yours. Fight, flight, or freeze. Now, moving on, I have this one question, and I'm sure you must all too. Why does creativity make you do what you do? Or simply, why ignoring your creative compass is not an option? So, I'll share an incident of mine. I had a speaking assessment in my school. Many of us do. And the topic was quite simple. I had to talk about something I liked. Pretty easy, right? It wasn't. I researched endlessly trying to find an idea that truly reflects me. But on the day, I did something so terrible. I muted my excitement. I edited my words. And importantly, I chose sounding impressive over sounding myself. Contrarily, I had another speaking assessment a month later, and unfortunately, I wasn't well prepared. So, what I did that time was I spoke like I usually do, unfiltered and too much. But this time, something unexpected happened. I felt calm instead of anxious. And it made me realize a very important gift of creativity: self actualization. Self actualization is when what you're in the inside is what you allow yourself to be on the outside. So, self actualization is often incorporated when you're creative. And I'll tell you how. When you ideate, when you give a solution, when you give a perspective, you are not copying or conforming. You are translating your inner world into something real. Yes, that's what creativity brings to you. You change your identity into authenticity. Now, moving on, creativity is like your favorite uncle or aunt. It brings more than one present. So, the second present is more biological. When you create, specific circuits in your brain get activated. Dopamine, your brain's reward and motivation driver, kicks in, pushing you to focus, explore, and keep going. Then, when your idea finally starts to make sense, serotonin, your brain's confidence and stability regulator, is released, helping you to understand that what you do matters. And stay engaged for long enough, and endorphins, your brain's natural stress relievers, are released. These all share the same thought, that creativity is a biological anecdote. It helps you refine, prepare, and take away what you can learn from it. It simply reinforces growth and meaning and focus in your life. See, so many benefits. At the end, it's important to know that creativity is not optional. It's your hidden emergency exit. Yes, your hidden emergency exit. It's your survival instinct. So, I leave you with this. If fear, conformity, and self doubt are always standing at that door, waiting to stop you, what will you create before they take their chance? Thank you.